According to the study, 95 to 99% of the success or failure you experience in your life comes down to this one thing. Damian Lanfranchi here, brandneweveryday.com, equipping believers just like you to experience the abundant life God has for you through more purpose, more power, more prosperity. And so this is the second part. You can go back and watch part one if you want. I'm going to talk about that study in just a second. Talked about the company that you keep. And it was a Harvard study, and it was from a guy named Dr. McClelland. I think I'm saying his name right, McClelland. And he studied different people, and he determined that 95 to 99% of the success or failure you and I experience in this life here on earth before heaven is going to come down to the people we choose to habitually surround ourselves with. Because the people we surround ourselves with become the people we compare ourselves to. And the people we compare ourselves to determine how we set the standards in our own lives, right? And it makes perfect sense. If you hang around with a bunch of overweight people, and I'm not saying they're bad people, I'm not saying you can't be friends with overweight people, I'm not saying that, but if all your friends are overweight and all your family members are overweight, then it's very natural that your standard's going to be that being overweight is an okay standard, right? That's an acceptable part of your life, right? Okay, makes sense. And in the last video, I walked you through a biblical framework for why this is so important. We talked about iron sharpening iron. We talked about how bad company corrupts good character. We talked about Jesus saying, "Follow me," because he knew that he had to get the disciples around him in his atmosphere, in his environment, to see their lives transformed. And I even talked about Rocky Balboa and life lessons from Rocky, which there are endless lessons from Rocky, just to be clear. What I want to do in this video for you is I really want to get down to the brass tacks of what the heck do you do with this? Okay, Damian, makes sense, right? The people that I hang around with, the people I surround myself with, right? You know, if you want to know your future, look at the 5 people surrounded, right? I know this is true, but what do I do with this? Because what do I do with it, right? That's a fair question. So I'm going to give you 3 things that are actionable, that are executable, and that if you're serious about this, you'll do something about it. Now, if right now you're hearing this and you're already like, I don't know about this doesn't sound biblical, this doesn't sound true, I don't, go back and watch part 1. You saw it already, watch part 1 again. Because I want to make sure you have the conviction, because this is not easy. This is not the easy stuff. This is the hard stuff, but it is the stuff that really differentiates living an ordinary life. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of ordinary, normal people who lived ordinary lives that Jesus is going to welcome with full arms into heaven. That's not what I'm called to. That's not what sets me on fire every single morning. I want to do extraordinary things for the Lord for whatever number of days I have on this earth. And I want to get to heaven, and I want Jesus to be like, whew, that was crazy, Damian. You had me on the edge of my seat. That's the life I want to live. If you're listening to me, my gut tells me that something in you wants the same thing. So let's talk about these 3 steps. First thing, inventory. I know it sounds so callous and so cruel, but being real with you, be honest with yourself and take an inventory of the people that you are habitually surrounding yourself with, right? Do this exercise. Think about, who do you spend the most time with? On your phone, texting, in person. Who do you go to for advice? Who do you listen to? Who do you hang out with, right? List those people. And then I want you to really ask yourself, do you want their lives? When you look at the life they're living, do you want their life? Are they going in the direction you want to go? Have they reached the top of mountains that you're trying to climb? And if they haven't, are they at least climbing mountains that you're also interested in climbing? You know, in my life, right, a big, huge part of my life is that I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades. I'm extremely glad. It's a hard life, but it's a good life. It's the one that I'm made for, and I love it. And so, yeah, I have a lot of close friends that are entrepreneurs. A lot of the close company I keep, but not all of them. I have some friends, like I have a friend, Nick. I love Nick. Nick is a missionary in Brazil. And that guy, he sent me a video, like for the first time, they were doing outreach and like crusades to like tens of thousands of people. He ministers to like the women on the streets and helps rescue them out of trafficking and ministers to the orphan kids. Like, he does unbelievable stuff. So while we might not align and he might not speak to the entrepreneurial part of my life, he excels in a different thing that I want in my life. I see him and I'm like, my gosh, this guy is so bold This guy is living a radical life for Jesus. It's amazing, right? I have another buddy, Don. Love Don to death. I've known Don for almost 15, 20 years now. Don isn't a believer, he's a pre-Christian. I always call everybody pre-Christian. We're all pre-Christians, right? Because everybody, right? Because the Word of God says, one day every knee in heaven and earth and under the earth will bow and acknowledge Jesus Christ as Lord. So everybody's a pre-Christian, right? So Don doesn't, would call himself a believer. And I love him. He's a dear friend. And while he may not be where I'm going on the spiritual side of things, he's a phenomenal leader in business. He runs, I think they're now an 8-figure business that he's a CEO of. Not only that, but he's one of the true, probably the true, only other true Renaissance man that I personally know. That this guy is a sculptor, he does architect, he hikes, he runs a business, he developed a board game, he just wrote a book. This guy does, and so that's part of who I want to be. And so I love and value our friendship so deeply. So it's not about that you have to find people that are exactly like you, but the point is taking an inventory of the people around you and being honest, right? Are they going places you want to go? Have they achieved things you want to achieve? Do you want their lives? And I'll give you a little bonus. This isn't even in it, but this is a little bonus thing. Listen to this one thing. This will save you. This will save you time. Don't ask advice from people whose life you don't want. So many people do this all the time, right? They're like, marriage isn't great. I was talking to my buddy Fred. How's Fred's marriage? His marriage is met. Why are you taking advice from somebody who doesn't have a life you want, right? That's like being like, I'm really struggling with being overweight. It's just a real problem, overweight. I was talking to my friend Bud. Is Bud in shape? No, Bud's out of shape too. Why are you talking to that guy? Don't ask for advice from people whose lives you don't want. That's just wisdom. I know it doesn't sound Christian. I feel like I'm going to write a book someday called like Unchurched. I wrote it down. It's one of the books I may or may not get to someday because I feel like a lot of times we just get stuff in our heads that's just, it's not wisdom and it's not even the Bible. It's just crazy. So that's step one. Take an inventory. Really look at your life. Now you might be saying, but Damien, like my mom, my sister, my dad, like these are all people. What am I going to do? Just step one. Take an inventory and be honest with yourself. Who are the people, maybe a top 5 that you spend the most time with, that you surround yourself with? And then, do they have the life you want? Are they headed to the places that you're trying to reach and achieve, that you're called to get to in your life? Number 2, okay? Baby steps here. Choose to be intentional. Flip the switch in your mind. Step out of the victim mode of, well, these are just the people that I'm stuck with. It's funny. I was just reading today. I wasn't going to mention this, but I feel like I got to share this with you. I was just reading today in Matthew where Jesus is preaching and he's with his disciples and someone comes and is like, hey, your mother and your brother's outside. And they're like trying to break up the meeting and interrupt Jesus. And he's like, who's my mother and brother? These people. People who do the will of God. That's who my mother and brothers and sisters are. Right? He wasn't afraid to say like the people closest to me. And it wasn't that he didn't care about his mother. Obviously he did. Obviously his brother James, half brother James, wrote some of the New Testament. But he wasn't afraid to say, look, the people that are closest to me aren't just the people necessarily because I was born next to them. It's the people that do the will of God, right? So as you did that inventory, really start to ask yourself, who do I need to be closer with? So maybe there's some people in your circle where you're like, man, I don't spend enough time with my grandpa. That guy's amazing. He's been married for 45 years. He served in the war, never complains, held 3 jobs. I'm kind of talking about my grandpa, who I love to death. He's one of my favorite people who ever lived, ever walked this earth, that ever had the honor of knowing. Wow, now I'm distracted and slightly choked up. Anyways, right? Who are the people you need to get closer with? And honestly, who are the people that you need to be further away? That, like honestly, aren't helping you live the abundant life. They're not fulfilling the call, not drawing you closer. And stop making excuses, right? Because one of the things that Christians always say, and I know because I've said this, right? So I'm preaching to myself just like I'm sharing with you. Well, I'm trying to, make an impact on their life. Well, look at the fruit. Be honest, right? If you have those people in your life that you're like, they're really not going the direction I want. I don't really want their life, but I'm trying to make an impact. Over the last 3 months, 6 months, year, 5 years, 10 years, are they changing? Or are you changing? Or are you just stagnating? Be honest, right? Like if you're like, I'm trying to make an impact and you're like, man, they're getting stronger and I'm getting stronger because I want to be a better example for them. God bless, that's biblical, awesome, that's discipleship. But if you're looking at that relationship and the truth is that they're not bearing any fruit, they're not going anywhere, they're not receiving wisdom, they're not improving. And the fact of the matter is you're stagnating or maybe you're backsliding because you're hanging out with bad company. That's not kingdom. It's not kingdom, it's just foolishness. It really is. To be dragged down in the name of discipleship or witnessing, that's not a biblical model and it's not wisdom, right? So inventory, and then number 2 is choose to be intentional. Choose to start looking at that list and being able to say, like, who are the people I need to draw closer to and who do I not? Who do I need to surround myself with less? And let me be clear, I have all different friends and they're all different, if they're circles, they're in all different levels of a circle. It doesn't mean like there's a hierarchy. It just means that I invest my time in certain places. Any of my friends, any of my family members, you could ask any of them. They call me in the middle of the night, they call me in a weekend, they have an emergency, I'm there. I'm the first guy there. I will always be there for you. No matter whether or not you bring nothing into my life, whether you're not going in the same direction. If you're my friend, my family, I love you, I will take care of you. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna actively invest my time, my emotion, my passion, my thought life, and entangle it with yours. 2 separate things. And so don't conflate the 2. So be intentional. Be willing to be intentional. Be intentional. Choose to be intentional. Say, I believe and I know that I'm called to bigger things. And I know that possibly the number 1 factor that's going to determine that is the people I surround myself with. And so from this day forward, I'm going to be intentional about that. And then number 3, if you're going to be intentional, make a plan. Yeah, I said make a plan. You're like, make a plan to have friends, Damien? Yeah, make a plan about your relationships, right? Everything that matters, the most important things in your life, your finance, your education, a business, marriage, right? We make plans. These relationships matter. Make a plan. Pray, make a plan, and then move. And be willing to be uncomfortable. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to be like, hey, Frank, I know we've been friends from high school, but I noticed that, you kind of had the same job, you're not really successful, your marriage also looks like a wreck, so we're gonna start hanging out less. You don't need to do that. Just make your own intention and then do your thing, right? And at the same time, if you don't have those people in your life, find them. Don't find excuses, find them. If you want to be a great writer and you don't know any great writers, find people that are great writers. Go to a conference, go to a workshop, go online, write fan mail to great writers that are local and otherwise. Try to get some of their time. Try to build a relationship. You can do it. Find those people that have climbed the mountains you want to climb. Find the people that have slayed the giants and the dragons you want to slay. And walk alongside them. Carry their cloak. Get in their shadow. Run with them. Right? And see your life change. And if you're saying right now, some of the stuff, I know especially family stuff could be hard. I can't tell you over the years of doing youth ministry, college ministry, how many people, and I've dealt with it in my own life, have seen that, look, sometimes our own families can be the things that drag us down the most, and sometimes it's really hard to untangle us from our family, from obligation, from guilt, from all this other stuff. And so one of the best things I could give you is a piece of advice that Paul says. Paul says in his letters, and I forget which letter he says it in at the moment, but he says, to those who are being saved, we are a sweet aroma. But to those who are perishing, we are the stench of death. So you know what you do to the people that you're like, how do I say goodbye to Joni? We used to party all the time, and I don't party, but she's still a good friend, even though she parties, and she's not really a good influence, but I try not to let her influence, right? All that stuff, just smell like Jesus. Smell more like Jesus all the time. And 1 of 2 things will happen. Either that person, if they're choosing to be disobedient and perish, you'll smell like death to them, and they'll start to distance themselves. Or if they desire and open to the Word of God and to salvation, they'll start to get drawn to you like a magnet, right? And so smell like Christ. And so that's what I have for you today. Look, it's probably a little bit different than some of the stuff I've shared before. It's kind of like soft, mushy, uncomfortable stuff to really think about, like, evaluating relationships, taking inventory of relationships, and then choosing to be intentional. But it's biblical wisdom, and it's borne out in truth and fact and knowledge that's how it works. Like, it really, really matters who you surround yourself with. And so constantly in my life, I'm constantly challenging myself. And again, it doesn't mean that I won't be friends with somebody. You know, everybody I meet, I'm like, can they do something for me? No, I'm not going to say how. I'm not saying that at all. I care for everybody, I'm open to everybody. But when it comes to investing my time, to building a relationship, to caring and tending for nurturing relationship, I'm going to nurture relationships that I believe are going to help me fulfill the call of God on my life, the things He's called me to, the passions, visions, dreams He's given me. And that's the same thing I want for you. So I really encourage you to do this today. Get the conviction, go out there, take an inventory of those relationships, choose to be intentional, make a commitment in your heart, pray about it, flip that switch that you're going to be intentional from this day forward about the company that you surround yourself with. And then yes, make a plan, pray, and do it.